From proving himself as a starter at a college powerhouse Alabama to suddenly getting benched in the 2018 National Championship, then transferring to Oklahoma and proving himself to be a Heisman candidate, then being a backup quarterback his rookie season, it's safe to say that Jalen Hurts' journey to the NFL was truly a roller coaster experience. It wasn't an easy one, but through perseverance, he has proved to be one of the best players in the NFL today. My name is Kevin Gagner, and you're listening to Journey to the Big League, a podcast where I explore how some of the best players in the NFL got to the league, from their college experience to being drafted on the big night, and how they became the face of the National Football League. Some of these players' paths were easy, others were doubtful. Everyone has a story, and I'm here to share it with you. Today, we're exploring Jalen Hurts and his football journey to how he became the face of the Philadelphia Eagles and the NFL. Jalen was 18 when he got to Alabama. After arriving from Channelview High School in Channelview, Texas, he came to Alabama ranked 192 for his class per 24/7 Sports. He previously had offers from Texas Tech, West Virginia, but chose Alabama to grow under legendary football coach Nick Saban. Jalen would become the first true freshman to start under Saban, which was an accomplishment in itself. In Jalen's freshman year, he threw for 2,780 yards and 23 touchdowns with just 9 interceptions. He was able to lead Alabama to the national championship game, where they ended up losing to Clemson 35-31. In his sophomore year, Jalen threw for 2,081 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 1 interception. He finished third in the SEC in total offensive yards. He was ultimately able to lead Alabama to the national championship game, but in a turn of events got benched at halftime for freshman quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. Alabama ended up winning after being down 13 points, 26-23, giving Jalen his national championship win, even though he was on the bench. For Jalen's junior year, he stayed as a backup to Tua the whole season until the SEC championship game, and led Alabama to a comeback after being down 14, beating Georgia 35-28. He would then ride the bench in the national championship game, where Alabama ended up losing 44-16. After his junior year, Jalen knew he wouldn't get anywhere at Alabama, so he decided to transfer to none other than Oklahoma State. When transferring, Saban had some other words for Jalen. In an interview, Saban said,
"You need to work on becoming a better passer. You can't just make plays with your feet. So this whole season, I want you to focus in practice on reading coverages, understanding the passing game better, and being able to read and dissect what you need to do quickly, and focus on that, because you want to play in the NFL someday. That's what you need to improve."
And with that word of wisdom, Jalen did just that. While at Oklahoma, under Lincoln Riley, Jalen had his best statistical season to date. With the advice from Saban, Jalen transformed his game. He threw for 3,851 yards, 32 passing touchdowns, 1,298 rushing yards, and 20 rushing touchdowns. Jalen was able to transform his game and become not only a rusher, but an elite passer as well. This created a dual threat that everyone on any level of football fears. With his breakout season, Jalen ended up finishing second in Heisman voting, losing to Joe Burrow. Jalen and the Sooners were able to put together a great season. They won the Big 12 championship and were just shy of the national championship, losing to LSU in the 2019 Peach Bowl. This was just the beginning for Jalen Hurts, and he proved that he could really make some noise in the NFL. Jalen entered the 2020 draft after a promising combine. In a surprise twist, he was drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles with the 53rd overall pick in the day 2 of the NFL draft. This came as a surprise due to the Eagles already having a franchise quarterback in Carson Wentz, who led Philadelphia to a Super Bowl and was an MVP candidate. There was no need at the time to draft a quarterback that early. It was well known coming into his rookie season that Jalen would be riding the bench yet again. In an interview a couple years later, Jalen talks about his thoughts of being drafted by the Eagles. In the interview, he said,
"Well, my first year here, they probably didn't even want to draft me here. It's probably one of those things, but it always handled itself. I know, there was a big surprise to many. But my favorite verse, I went through a lot of stuff in college, and it kind of stuck with me, John 13:7. You may not know now, but later you'll understand. Hopefully people understand."
Jalen rode the bench the majority of his rookie year behind Carson and didn't get his chance until the last 4 games of the season due to the Eagles being out of playoff contention. In his rookie season, Jalen finished with 1,061 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. Jalen performed well for being a rookie quarterback in the league, and this was the start to something big for the Philadelphia franchise. In Jalen's second season, he earned the starting job. He and the Eagles finished with a record of 8-7. He threw for 3,144 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. It wasn't until his 2022 season where he proved he was the face of the NFL. In 2022, Jalen had 3,701 yards, 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 706 yards rushing, and 13 rushing touchdowns. He finished second in MVP voting and led the 14-3 Philadelphia Eagles to the Super Bowl, putting up a great performance against the Kansas City Chiefs, losing 38-35. While Jalen didn't get the Super Bowl win, he proved that he's a force to be reckoned with. He's a dual-threat quarterback that knows how to put in the work and succeed, not only during his NFL career, but his whole football career. In this episode, we were able to reflect and talk about the journey of Jalen Hurts and his rise to prominence in the National Football League. Through thick and thin, Jalen's journey was not a conventional one whatsoever. Next time, we'll talk about one of the greatest centers in the history of the NFL, Jason Kelce. Thanks for listening. I'm Kevin Gagner, and we'll see you next week on Journey to the Big League.